What's going on YouTube? Today I wanted to talk to you about cleaning and gapping aircraft spark plugs. This may be a task that you will have to do on your oral practical exam to get an airframe and power plant certificate. I've been doing a playlist on this. I've been doing a bunch of videos on this. As y'all know, for those of you who are returning and those of you who are new, I make a lot of videos about being an aircraft mechanic, how to become an aircraft mechanic, the schooling, all that kind of stuff. So if that interests you, stick around. Before I get too involved in yapping, I do want to apologize for all the noise you're hearing. There's a lot going on outside the building and there's nothing I can do about it. So I will try to speak loudly so that you can hear me and so that you can understand what we're doing. Now, like I said, I have been doing a playlist on practical projects for students getting ready to test for their A&P or for people who've qualified with practical experience to go test for their A&P. And one of the things you might have to do, I've talked about compression checks, I've talked about mag timing, magneto timing, and a lot of the reciprocating engine stuff that people aren't all that familiar with. And today I want to talk a little bit about servicing aircraft spark plugs. So this video is going to be about servicing aircraft spark plugs, particularly about cleaning and gapping them. I've got a tool right over here off camera that we're going to talk about. Post-editorial note here I'm throwing in kind of after filming everything. I want to say this before I get started. It is very important that you're following all your tech data and your manuals. I know I say that in every one of these videos. I stress it to follow your tech data, follow your manuals. For using the tester, you're going to use the tester's manual or their instructions done by Aircraft Tool Supply for the tester or whatever tester you may have. For the plug itself, you should be following Champion's guide or Tempest or whoever makes the plugs. You should be following their guide for servicing the plug on what the gap is supposed to be, on what the internal resistance is supposed to be, and so on. So just want to throw that in. First thing I want to show you is the gap, and let's understand what that means. I'll take you off of here and I'm going to spin you around. So now I've got two plugs. Whoops, these are very hard to keep track of. I've got two plugs in my hand. The one in the right is brand new, or actually no, I'm lying. The one on the right is used and the one on the left is brand new. And I'm trying to get the camera to focus, but it's really not. Let me see here. Maybe if I spin around and get the light behind me like that. There you go. That's a little better. So you see how beautiful and brand new this plug is here on the left, and you see how much of a football this one on the right is. And what happens over time, let me set these down for a second. What happens over time, every time the spark jumps from the center electrode to the outer electrode, it takes a little material with it. And when you put it in the next spark plug, next firing order, whatever, the magneto switches its polarity because that's how magnets work, and then it jumps from the outer electrode to the center electrode and does the same thing. So over time, the outer electrodes and inner electrodes get worn down. And that's part of the reason you have to re-gap the plugs when you clean them, is because that center electrode is getting worn down over time. So like I said, this is an older plug that has been footballed, and there is actually a limit on this. They make a special go, no go tool. I don't have one in my hands. I will put it up here in the video so that you can see it and understand that if that tool fits over the end of the spark plug after it has been gapped to its final dimension, then this plug must be rejected. So before I get any further, I would like to, hold on, let me fix my microphone. I just realized my cable's kind of popping up in the left side of the screen there. There we go. Anyways, sorry. Before I get any further in the video, I now want to show you a automatic cleaning and gapping tool. Now this is a model SPC or SPCT-100A spark plug cleaner and tester from Aircraft Tool Supply. I personally own one of these. This one is not mine, but I personally own one of these. Good machines. They do exactly what they're going to do. I'm going to show you how to use it. The first thing you'll do is you'll take your plug. You're going to put it in the cleaner here. Now I've got the power switch on. It's very important that it's on. And then when I hit blast clean, oh, I gotta turn the air on. Now, when I hit blast clean, it will spray all of my media into my spark plug, hopefully cleaning it. It's not doing a great job because the pressure's kind of low. And then I can hit air cleaner and clean it out. Now, these are automatic. If you look up in here, there is a little guy right here that will connect into the plug and rotate it for you like that. To clean it, you don't have to do that. You can use your hand and do like this, but I've only got one hand since I'm filming with the other one, so I'm not going to do that. But anyways, after that, you would assume it would be perfectly clean. You would pull the plug out, and then you're going to stick it on the tester side. So now what I want to do is I want to put that plug in. I want to move the tester lead into the spark plug hole. Hang on, sorry, there was an airplane. I'm now going to go ahead and connect the test lead, and I'm going to take this pressure regulator and I'm gonna dial the pressure up. I really wanna get it into green. I can't quite get it into green with this one, and that's okay. You'll get the point. I'm gonna clean this mirror off. Hopefully you can see it, and I'm gonna hit the test button. And now what I'm looking for is a bright blue spark right here, but I'm not really getting one. Let me see if I can. All right, sorry about that. I had to swap the plugs. That one wasn't working. But if you look right in here, it's gonna be hard to pick up on camera. You're looking for a bright blue spark. You can see the light go on, light's on, it's off. And what that is that's an actual spark going between the two electrodes of the spark plug. And that's what you want to see. You want to see a bright blue or bright white spark. If it's orange or kind of dull, that's a sign that maybe this plug is kind of bad. Then you would pull it off of here. Before I go any further, I'm going to caution you. Again, I've only got one hand. It's not fun to shock yourself with this thing, and this is quite a lot of voltage on here. So be careful. I've accidentally, when I was doing this, I've had my hand like this and pushed the button, and it will shock you quite bad. It doesn't feel very good. So I caution you against that. Let's move on to gapping. Now, this is my gapping tool, and I've got it clamped to the table just for the sake of simplicity. But I'm gonna go ahead and set the camera up in here and show you what I would do. I take this little guy right here and very carefully thread it over the end of the spark plug, like this. Now when I'm done, you should see the end of the spark plug kind of sitting there like that, and it comes in here, and all you're gonna do is thread this arbor down until it touches the outer electrode, and then crank it down. You have your gapping tool. Here, you will want to refer to Champion's guide for this on what the acceptable gap is for your plug. I don't know, it could be 18 thousandths, 22 thousandths, 19 thousandths, 17 thousandths, or even 16 thousandths, whatever it is. So what I've come to find, if it's 17 thousandths, which some of them are, the 15, which is this one, should fit without a problem, but the 18 right there should not. And again, I don't know the gap of this plug, but all you're doing, if I take this out of here, is taking this gapping tool, you're taking this wire, and you're sticking it in between the electrodes and making sure that it fits. If I try to take the 22, you can see the 22 doesn't fit, but the 18 does. And that limit is going to be decided by the manufacturer. When you thread this down, if you want to go a little bit more, you just thread it down, back it off, check it. If it needs a little bit more, thread it down, give it a little bit of a turn, back it off, and check it again. It is very, very easy to go over, and once you over gap it, you cannot undo it. That is very important that I make that statement. You cannot undo it. We are almost done. We have done the gap, we've done the cleaning, we've gapped it, we've cleaned the threads. There's only one thing left to do to this plug to determine whether or not it is airworthy, and that is the internal resistance check. Now the number changes. I can't remember what it is off the top of my head. I'll put it, I think it's 12,000 ohms, but I'll put it across the screen. They make testers for that. I'll put a picture of the tester across the screen, or you can just use a multimeter, and you want to check the resistance from this electrode here to the center electrode on the inside. The last piece of advice I will give you for these spark plugs, again, this is one at the school. Drop it once, you drop it twice. If you drop it on the ground, you throw it in the trash. And the reason you throw it on the trash, it probably would have survived that drop, but the reason you throw it in the trash is if this hits the ground hard enough, it can crack the ceramic insulation that's in there. And if it cracks the ceramic insulation at higher altitudes, you can get a bleed over of the spark going from the inside of the spark plug to the case of the spark plug instead of out of the to the electrode. The other thing that can happen when the plug gets hot, when the plug heats up, it can expand, and then it can start to arc, and the pilot will say it starts fine, it runs fine, but as soon as it starts to heat up, it starts to get a misfire, and that can be because there is a crack in the insulation. If the resistance gets too high over time, as the resistors fail, the resistance will also cause the plugs to no longer spark because the resistance is just too high and it can't push the voltage through anymore. So those are really the two biggest ones, is getting dropped and there a crack that opens up, that'll cause it, and or the resistance getting high. And lastly, of course, is if they just get worn beyond their serviceable limit and eventually have to get replaced. Now, it's very important when you service your plugs that you rotate them to the next in firing order and top to bottom. The reason you do the next in firing order is, I said this before, the magneto has a magnet in it that is north and south, so when it lines up this way, the polarity is this way. When it lines up this way, the polarity is this way. So the polarity is constantly changing Well, it's the same for this plug. If this plug is in number 1, it's say center electrode to outer electrode, it's positive. But when you move it to the next cylinder, you switch it and now it's negative. And you want to do that, you always want to rotate them so that the wear stays even across all of the plugs and you're not wearing out all of your plugs that stay on positive polarity and not wearing out the plugs that stay in negative polarity, vice versa. So just a note there. The last thing I will say before I let y'all go is this. If you want to see a much more in-depth kind of step-by-step of me doing this, maybe like on a client's aircraft or something the next time I do one. I know I've got some annuals and some stuff coming up, and I can kind of walk you through it step by step. It's going to be a lot longer, 10 minutes, probably going to be like a 15, 20-minute video. I'll say a lot of the same things I said here, but I'll actually demonstrate how to do these things instead of just sort of pantomiming them for the sake of getting you past an O&P test. But if you want to see that, drop a comment down below on servicing aircraft spark plugs, how I do it, my preferred method, if you will, and I'll get into it a lot more there. Bye. So there you have it, everybody. If you stuck around all the way to the end, you might as well leave me a like, and you might as well subscribe. You're still here. I mean, clearly you like the way my voice sounds, and I would really appreciate it. Leave us a comment. Tell me what you want to see me make next. I've done a whole playlist of practical projects. Make sure you go through them, see if there's anything helpful for you there. Make a comment on whatever practical project demonstration you want to see next, and I'm going to try to film it. Trying to get back to filming some regular uploads. It's hard. I've been lazy lately. It's summer. It's hot. I suck as a human being. I don't know. Anyways, if you found the video helpful, make sure you leave a like, leave us a comment, subscribe, all that good stuff. And as always, go build something and be easy.